My name is Bernice, and this is my Students with Special Needs presentation. I will be presenting on Chapter 6, Teaching Devices for Increasing Student Learning from Lectures. The first teaching device for increasing student learning from lecture is to simply slow down. Lectures can be drawn out and boring. Students with learning disabilities have a difficult time understanding a lecture if the teacher has an accent, speaks with a monotone voice, doesn't use different lecture approaches and styles, and simply speaks too fast during lecture. When college students who had learning disabilities were asked what their instructors could do to help them learn better from their lectures, slowing down the rate of lecture delivery was among the top requests. Simply slowing down is an effective inclusion strategy that helps the students understand the lecture better. In addition, pausing is also an effective inclusion strategy to help slow down the lecture. This will help frustration to be decreased because students are able to keep up with their notes. They will also be motivated when they realize they are able to keep up with their note-taking. Perception increases when students are allowed time to take notes and process the lecture at the same time, and maybe even check with other students to make sure that their notes are correct. A second device for increasing student learning from lectures is to use cues. We understand that students with exceptional learning needs have difficulty deciphering the important points from the non-important points in the lecture. Therefore, we need to make it very clear when we state information that is important through using cues. We must explicitly teach our cueing system to the students at the beginning of the year. Now, there are all different sorts of cues that may be used, like writing important points on the board bullet style, or verbally stating, "This is an important point." Repetition of important words or phrases, using choral responding, which means teacher asks question that calls for a brief response and the students answer in unison. Also, posting a chart in class with the cue words is effective, like drum roll please, pay attention now, repeat after me, this will be on the test. Using cues helps students through the identification of and writing down of important points. It decreases frustration by being able to distinguish what's important, and students tend to pay attention when they hear the cues. So it is very beneficial for the students and the teachers to give out cues. A third device in making your lecture more effective is explicitly teaching the big ideas. Research shows that explicitly teaching the big ideas of a discipline is crucial for students with exceptional learning needs. Small ideas can often be better understood and grasped once the big idea is identified. Explain the big idea of the discipline you are teaching the first week of school. Then begin each day with the big idea you will be addressing that day in your lesson. Repetition will help assure that students with learning disabilities understand your objective and learn more effectively. Also, post the big idea on a bulletin wall to help remind the students and yourself of it. Teaching the big idea will help all students, especially the ones with learning difficulties. A fourth device in increasing student learning from lectures is to provide an advanced organizer. Advanced organizers help students effectively move from what they already know to what they are going to learn. Advanced organizers can be a list of important points that will be covered, a short discussion, a list of questions, a graphic organizer, or any other tool that will prepare the student for the lesson. Here we have an example of a graphic organizer depicting the difference between a synonym and an antonym. It states that synonyms are words that have meanings that are alike, like wind and breeze, partner and buddy, rural and country. Then to the bottom of the organizer, it states that antonyms are words that have different meanings, like terrible and wonderful, tall and short, serious and silly. As you can see, advanced organizers help students organize their thoughts and help students picture what they know and what they are learning. A fifth teaching device for increasing student learning from lectures is to solicit student examples and also give a vast number of examples to better explain your topic. Soliciting student examples is a powerful tool in lecturing. Students with exceptional learning needs and those without all benefit from hearing examples in lectures that relate to their daily lives. Examples from students' lives activates prior learning and helps them connect to what's being taught. Also, using a large number of examples will help them not to undergeneralize the topic. An example of undergeneralization would be when some children think of an animal as something with 4 legs and fur, and are therefore quite surprised when their teacher says that fish, birds, and insects are also animals. And of course, the more complex the concept you're teaching, the more examples one needs to use. For example, teaching physics calls for using many more examples than teaching about animals. One can use examples of students' experiences at amusement parks and other events they have experienced that relate to physics theories and laws. A sixth device for teaching is providing non-examples in the lecture. When teaching, we either teach the concept, then give examples. This is called deductive teaching, or we give examples, then teach the concept, which is called inductive teaching. It is important to also incorporate non-examples into our lectures. They are critical to learning, especially for learners with disabilities who often overgeneralize. There are 2 types of non-examples. The first is the intuitive non-example, which are those we understand are not part of a group. For example, it is quite clear that a dog is not a human being. Therefore, dogs is an intuitive non-example. The second is a non-intuitive non-example. A non-intuitive non-example are those we confuse to be part of a group. A good example of a non-intuitive non-example are moths. When speaking of butterflies, it is easy for the student to think that moths are butterflies. As a matter of fact, some moths look like butterflies, but they're not. Butterflies are mostly brilliant colored day-flying insects with long knobbed antennae, and most moths fly at night and have tapered or feathery antennae. One difference that is useful is the difference in the way in which they hold their wings when resting. Moths generally fold their wings down and butterflies close them over their backs. Using non-examples helps students to learn new concepts more readily. The 7th teaching device is to teach using CSA/CRA techniques, which basically means teaching new concepts by giving concrete examples or devices to work with, then transitioning to semi-concrete, then ultimately to abstract. One example is that in a study done in 2002 by Case, Cates, Jackson, and Smith, where they used concrete manipulatives to teach 3 problem-solving skills involving calculating perimeter and area to secondary students who had exceptional learning needs and were unable to solve these problems previously. Through the use of the geoboards, they were able to understand how to configure perimeter and area of different geometric figures, and later able to make such calculations without the board, only paper and pencil. There is less confusion when introducing concrete examples first. The last teaching device I will be discussing that assists in increasing student learning is role-playing. Role-playing is a very valuable teaching tool when teaching difficult content like mitosis, protein synthesis, and the like. It's been used to illustrate chemical processes of single and double replacement reactions by having a student act out losing their date to another person, and double dating students exchanging dates. Role-playing is used extensively also in colleges, businesses, medical schools, and other professional schools. Role-playing is a powerful teaching tool and a very effective tool because students are physically involved and having fun.